Aloha and welcome to the end of week 3, which was all e-learning this week. And we're moving into the blended learning model next week. And so there are several tips I wanted to give as far as, we've talked about Canvas navigation, we've talked about Canvas communication, and I wanted to kind of loop back through some of the things we went through with Canvas communication because I am noticing some trends as far as kids getting assignments completed and turned in, and then being able to respond to that feedback that I'm giving through Canvas. So the first thing I wanted to show is I have added a grades tab within each of my courses within Canvas. Now, it's important to remember that within Canvas, the grade function is more of kind of a feedback function. And so it's not really a grade until I sync it with Skyward. Now, not everything in Canvas is going to be reported to Skyward. And so I'll report maybe 2 assignments or 2 grades per week approximately is what I'm exporting to Skyward. And I typically do that first thing in the morning and I'll sync those up. And so the grade report that you see that day is at least a 24-hour reflection of where the students are at. It is more likely that I'll do it a couple times during the day, several times throughout the day, but that's what I'm committing to. I'm committing to at least first thing in the morning, I will sync those up. So if you see a grade that's reported in Canvas that is different than Skyward, it's just because Canvas hasn't synced with Skyward in a while. And so I'll try to keep up on top of that. I know how important that is. And I will do everything in my power to keep up on that. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to show is the power of that grade tab is this, and I'm in kind of a virtual student here. So this isn't, this is kind of my test student. So I can click on grades. And what that'll bring up is the grades tab for that student. Now, what's important here is you can see that I can see all the assignments that are missing. I can see what's late. I can see the score on each of those. And so this is a real valuable tab for both students and parents to be able to go in there and check on those missing assignments and so on. So that's a lot easier than going through the modules or trying to correlate, what's in Skyward and what's in Canvas and all those kinds of things. And so I thought this tab would be really helpful. If there is a missing assignment, what you can do is then just click on the assignment right here. And what that'll do is you can see nothing has been turned in. There is no submission. And I can just go up here to this particular button then and click on that. And that'll take me to the actual assignment. So that can be real useful as far as, seeing exactly what the learning objectives were for that assignment, what exactly is the student task that needs to be completed, and then I can click on submit to get that assignment turned in. And so that is, I think, going to be real helpful for kids and parents. And I'm going to review that with kids next week as far as the power of that tool. And I did send out emails to both the students and the parents who have seemed to be students who seem to be have trouble, getting their assignments turned in. So if there's any question on that, please just email me or use inbox within Canvas, and that message will get to me. And so another thing I wanted to show on here is, and I had to use this student example because obviously my test student hasn't submitted anything, is the button that's right over here. So I already kind of talked about number 1 here, which is the, identifying the missing. Number 2 over here, as you can see, this assignment was completed and turned in. And what I have here is this little comment icon over there. And what that tells you is that there has been, I've left a comment. There's feedback in there as far as what that student completed and what they were able to then show. And so what that would look like then is when you click on that, you'll see a copy of the assignment. You can see this particular assignment was in Nearpod, and it'll give you a general overview of what was submitted, and then you can see kind of the comment trail over here as far as when I provided feedback, and then if the student said anything back, you can see a dialogue of that, and I think that is real useful as far as taking a look at those things. And so another thing I kind of wanted to highlight as well is this kind of anatomy of an assignment. And basically, an assignment is broken down into 2 or 3 parts. There's kind of the introduction, which is like the objective that we're trying to do within that lesson. If there's any content, that'll be immediately following that learning objective. So the things that the kids need in order to accomplish that learning objective. And then often at the bottom or near the bottom, there'll be what I call a student task, or the do. This is what a kid has to do. And that will be clearly outlined. I will oftentimes make the verb in red and bold. And so it should be pretty, self-explanatory, or just, read the directions. How often do we hear that? That is what the kid has to do. So that's the student task that needs to be accomplished and then submitted. So not all assignments are going to have that. Sometimes it could be like an ed puzzle where it just takes care of itself. The completing the ed puzzle is the assignment. Nearpod is similar to that. And so if there is a student task that needs to be completed, you'll see that towards the bottom. The last thing I want to talk about is kind of the where I see this blended model going. And so the way that I'm going to try to, I know it can be kind of confusing as far as what assignments are in Canvas and what needs to be completed already. And now that we're going to a blended model where, some kids are going to be here at school and some kids are going to be at home, and then, that was flip-flop and so on. So the easiest way I can explain it is the way I'm going to present it within Canvas is 2 different ways. Number one is the way I've been doing it, where if there's an assignment in there for that day, and let's say it's kind of a flipped classroom kind of idea where the kids here in class are going to be doing the same thing as the kids at home, that's going to be dated for one day. So let's say on Monday, August 31st, the kids at home are going to be doing the same thing as the kids here. There'll be one assignment, one day within Canvas. And so that'll be numbered by, or, that day. There are going to be some times like what's coming up on this Monday where the kids in class are going to be doing something different than the kids at home. And then those are going to flip-flop. So we're going to be starting a lab and using information that we collect in class to create graphs and start working through the graphing checklist. So as you can see in my example here, I have for Monday and Tuesday of next week, the e-learning module or the e-learning assignment is going to be different than what is done in class. And so what I'm doing is I'm dating those for both days. So think of that as kind of a block. And when they're at home, they'll be doing the e-learning lesson, the e-learning assignment. And then when they're here with me, they'll be doing the in-person assignment. So you'll see that those are labeled on each of those. And so I think that's probably going to be the easiest way of doing it. I know there's really no easy way of doing it. And it'll take us some time to kind of get into the flow. But I think that those 2 ways of recording things within Canvas is going to be the easiest way for the students, and the easiest thing for me as far as trying to keep it all planned together, and we'll go from there. I will also, in the email for this, or the announcement or whatever I'm calling that, I'm going to put in a link to some resources. Specifically, we're trying to pull together a page that has resources for students and parents that help explain a lot of this kind of stuff. And I'm also going to put a link to my plan book. I'm very transparent about how I plan things. I try to stay about a week ahead, but like with next week being a blended learning model, I really have only Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday planned. As far as like exactly, I have a pretty good idea of what I want to try to accomplish. And then Thursday and Friday, we're going to have to kind of see how Monday and Tuesday go. I'm not, this is my first time doing this blended model. And so we're going to have to be ready to pivot. And so you'll see kind of a framework in my plan book as far as where I see it going. But just know that, that's me being transparent with my planning. That's not necessarily set in stone. The stuff that's in Canvas, that is what we're doing. So I just want to try to give people as much information as I can. I'm very transparent about how things are moving forward, and I want parents to be able to take a look at that and see those kinds of things as far as where is this going and that kind of thing. So have a great Friday, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast.